Okay, so we're going to talk about the federal budget. Why would we want to talk about the federal budget? Because this is where your money goes. You work, you pay taxes, you give your money to the federal government, and this is what they do with it. So just a quick refresher about money, because we're going to talk about some big numbers here. We're going to have some idea of what those numbers actually mean. So $1 cup of coffee, $1,000 laptop, rent, food, $1 million. A stack as tall as a redwood tree. What do you buy with that? Maybe a huge house. What does the government buy with it? Sesame Street. What about $1 billion? How tall is that? About 67 miles. It's where space begins. It's where the sky turns from blue to black. It's where you become an astronaut. What does $1 billion buy? Maybe 3 or 4 airplanes, green jobs. What's 1,000 times that? $1 trillion. Halfway to the moon almost. What do we buy with $1 trillion? Our entire military for a year. $3.4 trillion is how much money the government spends every year. A stack of ones that reaches all the way from planet Earth up to the moon. That's how much we spend. What do we spend it on? We spend it on Social Security. This is a federal retirement fund. You pay into it while you're working and then you collect when you stop working. We spend almost $1 trillion on the military. The budget breaks up roughly into quarters, and I've got my little map here that I can't really, somewhere back here. Department of Defense, 1/4, Social Security, 1/4, another quarter goes to Medicaid and Medicare. This is medical assistance for people who can't work because they're disabled or injured or can't find work. And then everything else is the last quarter. What we think of as most of what the government does is just that last quarter. Roads, bridges, NASA, Department of Energy, EPA, judges, legislators, congressmen, senators, all that stuff. So just to be clear, we spend enough money to reach from here to the moon every year, and we spend it on about 1/4 on Social Security, 1/4 on defense, 1/4 on Medicaid and Medicare, and 1/4 on everything else. Okay, that's where your money goes. Now, it turns out that we only take in about $2.5 trillion. We spend $3.5 trillion, but we take in $2.5 trillion. That's called the deficit. We spend $1 trillion more than we take in. That's like you making 25 grand a year, but spending 35 grand a year. Every year you go another 10 grand into debt. That's if somebody will lend you the money. Now, what's the federal debt? How much we owe? About $16 trillion. That's more than 4 times what we spend every year. So if we stop paying for everything and just paid down the debt, it would take more than 4 years to pay it off. That's like you making your 25 grand a year, spending 35, going to debt 10 grand extra every year, and also being in debt $160,000. Maybe you went to medical school and for 10 years and you accumulated all this debt in student loans, or maybe you have a gambling problem and you owe somebody 160 grand. How are you going to pay it back? You're making 25, you're spending 35, you're adding to your debt every year. How are you ever going to pay off that 160? The next year it'll be 170, the year after that 180. That's exactly the situation that we are in as a country. 16 trillion in debt. Going another trillion into debt every year, that's the debt, that's the deficit, that's the budget, okay? Now, if we're going to tackle the deficit and the debt, we need solutions that are big enough. Mitt Romney at one of the debates said he was going to cut Sesame Street, public broadcasting. Said, sorry, Jim, I'm just going to, I like you, but I'm going to cut it. That's like you saying to the guy you owe $160,000 to, here's $1.43 out of my wallet. That is literally, mathematically, the equivalent. $1.43 compared to 160,000 is exactly the same thing as 143 million compared to 16 trillion. That's the kind of craziness it is. So if we're going to be serious about these problems, either we got to cut spending by $1 trillion, or we got to increase revenues by $1 trillion, or meet somewhere in the middle. But somehow we got to make this math work. Otherwise, there's no way we're reducing the deficit, much less paying off any of this debt.